Hello everyone, welcome to our video tutorial about formula basics. In this tutorial, we are going to learn how we can work with different simple formulas to perform calculation while we are working with Excel. When working with Excel, we have to know that every formula that you enter in Excel to allow you perform calculation, that formula has to start with an equal sign. So in cell A1, we are going to select it, then we put there our equal sign. So this equal sign will help us to go ahead with our calculation. So after the equal sign, we can go ahead and enter the calculation or function that we are going to work with. In our example, we are going to add 3 to 5 and see the answer. So we shall say equal sign 3 plus 5. Then here we can press the enter key. When we press the enter key, we can see our answer as 8. So in this example, we can see that our answer is directly displayed from this cell A1. If we can click on it, we see that from the formula bar, we have here the formula that we used to come up with this answer, which is 8. So we are having our answer as 8 in this cell because we entered both the formula and the numbers directly in cell A1. So that means we used Excel as a calculator. So it will perform the calculation from this very cell, then the answer will be displayed from this very cell. But when you click in that cell where the calculation is performed from and view from the formula bar, you will see that the formula was used to come up with this very answer. So that is what Excel does if you insert both the numbers and the formula in the same cell. However, this is not the best way to work with Excel to perform calculation. An effective way to work with Excel to perform calculations is to use the cell addresses. So our next example, we would like to perform calculation, and instead of using the formula and the numbers directly in a cell, we are going to use the cell addresses. So we can click in cell F4 and we type 5, then we select cell B4, we put there 20. We would like to perform a multiplication between these two cells and we get our answer in cell C4. So we select cell C4. This time round, instead of putting all our formulas and numbers in one cell, you can see we want our answer to appear in cell C4. From here now, we can go ahead and put there now our formula. Like I said at the beginning, we shall start with an equal sign. So when we put equal sign, now we can quote these cell addresses. We are multiplying cell A4 because we have our value in cell A4. So we put A4. So when you type F4, you can see that cell F4 is now surrounded with a blue color. To multiply, we use a star. In computer, we call it asterisk. So to get it, you can press the shift key and 8. So here we have our multiplication symbol. Our next step is again to quote cell B4. That's where another value is. So we put B4. So when you type B4, cell B4 gets also surrounded with a green border, as you can see. So after we have put our formula, we are going to press the enter key. So now we can press our enter key from the keyboard. On pressing the enter key, we can see our answer now appearing in cell C4. That is 100. So when we click on it and look at the formula bar, we can see our formula displayed from the formula bar. While in cell C4, we are just seeing the answer. Unlike in our first example where we saw the answer and then the formula this way, but when we had performed the calculation from the same cell. This time round we used a different cell to come up with this answer, and using what we are calling the cell address. So cell address can make you work effectively with Excel. In our next example, let's look at how we can create simple formulas using the point and click method. Instead of typing in the cell addresses, we are just going to click those cell addresses, and then we can go ahead and perform the calculation. So to begin, let's click cell S6 and we type there the contents we would like to perform our calculations with. So we shall type job A. We press enter, then we say job B, then we press enter. We also type total income, we press enter. Then in cell B6 we click there and put there that job A gives us 350,000. Job B gives us 200,000. We press enter. Now we can still go ahead and adjust these cells so that we don't see this word income entering in this cell. To do that, we can just go between these borders. We double click and we have our word fit in that cell. Now our next step is we would like to, first of all, format these values to Uganda shillings before we can go ahead with our calculation. So we select the two cells, then we go to the number group under the home tab. We use this button, so we click on it and we go to the more accounting formats. We click. So when you click on it, the dialog box is displayed for us. We can now use this symbol area where we see the dollar sign. Inside here, we can just type U. When you type U, we are taken down. Then we select Uganda shillings, and we can remove these decimal places because we don't want them. So we reduce by clicking on the arrow pointing down. From there, we are done with our settings, so we click on OK. So when we click on OK, we can see now our cells are formatted with Uganda shillings. What we would like to do is to perform an addition. We want to add the income for job A and job B, and we get our total income in cell B8. So we select cell B8 by clicking. When you click on it, like we said, we now have to enter our formula, which should begin with an equal sign. So we put equal sign. Now instead of typing our cell addresses, we are just going to click on those cell addresses. So equal sign, next is to put the cell address for this job A. So we click on it. So when you click on it, you can see the cell address appearing in your formula. and it is showing us it is cell B6. Then we are adding, so we put the addition symbol. Then next is to click the next cell. When you click on it, it also appears in our formula. So we have our formula inserted in this cell. Our next step is to press on the enter key. When you press on the enter key, our answer is now displayed for us after the calculation is performed by Excel. So when we select this cell where our answer is and we look at the formula bar, we can see our formula there. So this is the method we call the point and click method to create simple formulas while working with Excel. In our next example, we would like to create a formula that can allow us to divide a cell by a number. So to do that, we are going to use this cell A10 and we put there our figure, which is 360,000. We would like to divide this cell by 2 and our answer should appear in cell B10. So we can click in cell B10. From this cell B10, now we can enter our formula. And every formula has to start with an equal sign. So we put the equal sign in our cell. Next is now to quote the cell which we are going to work with, which is cell A10. So I will just click on it. Then to put the division symbol, we use the slash button which is on your keyboard. So we are dividing this cell by 2. So we put 2 and then we press the enter key. So when you press the enter key, we can see our answer now appearing here as 180,000. If we click on it and look at the formula bar, we can see our formula appearing on the formula bar. So that's how we can create simple formulas by dividing a cell with a given number. We have to note that while working with Excel and especially dealing with these values, there are some challenges that you may find. For instance, in our example, let's look at one of the challenges that you may find, that if these values are too large to be accommodated in the cells, what can happen to the cells or the values in that given cell? So in our next example, let's look at that challenge and we see how we can overcome that challenge. So to check that challenge, we are going to work with column B. So we are going to adjust this column and we try to reduce on its cells. To do that, we are going to use this border area, click, hold, then reduce that column. After, we can release our mouse button. Now on releasing the mouse button, we can see the changes to the content that we have. That the values that we have in these cells have now been replaced by the pound sign. The pound signs will always appear in the worksheet when certain cells are not wide enough to accommodate the values in them. So that's why we see this hash or the pound signs replacing the values that we had in these cells. But when you point on those cells, as you can see from the live preview, the content is there. Even if you go to the next cell or to this first cell above, we can see the contents there. So that means that even if we see these pound signs appearing in our work, we should not get worried. If, for example, we can click on one of them and see from the formula bar, you will see the content displayed from the formula bar. So the solution for this pound sign is just to move and you adjust on the cell or on the column. So when you adjust and you see the values are still not being displayed, that means the cells are not yet wide enough. So we can still continue, click, hold, then adjust. So when you are done with adjusting, then your values will be displayed for you. So this is the challenge of the values that you may be working with in worksheet. So if we see such kind of pound signs, it means we have to work with the columns or widen the cells so that these cells can accommodate the values in them. All you have to remember is that you should always specify the cell addresses correctly. You make sure you type also the formulas correctly in the cells that you may want to insert such formulas in. If the results are too large to be displayed in given cell, then you have to go ahead and work with these column borders so that you can increase the cell sizes or the column width. Hope you found this video tutorial useful to you. That's it for now. See you in our next tutorial.